Best HFY stories. Humans don't exaggerate their military strength. In a galaxy where countless alien species ruled, there was one undeniable truth: humans were different. Unlike other races who often exaggerated their might to intimidate others, humanity had always adhered to a simple principle: they never overstated their military capabilities. But that didn't mean they were weak. In fact, humans were more dangerous than anyone could imagine. They simply chose not to boast. It all started when the Gorathak, a fearsome species known for their strength and ferocity, decided to invade Earth. The Gorathak Empire had conquered countless planets, crushing any who stood in their way. They were known for their arrogance, their belief that no one could stand against them. When the Gorathak fleet arrived at Earth's solar system, they sent a message. "Prepare to be annihilated, Earthlings," it declared. "Your puny forces will be wiped out in days." Humanity's response was simple and to the point. "We don't exaggerate our military strength, but if you want a fight, we'll give you one." The Gorathak commanders scoffed. They had never encountered a species that didn't at least try to bluff their way out of a fight. With their massive fleet, they began their descent to Earth's orbit, confident that they would crush humanity's defenses with ease. What the Gorathak didn't know was that the human military was not only advanced but had learned from millennia of warfare across countless battlefields. They didn't need to boast or make threats. They let their actions speak for them. The first sign of humanity's true strength came when the Gorathak fleet attempted to launch a devastating bombardment on Earth. As their missiles and energy blasts rained down, Earth's defensive systems kicked into action. Orbiting satellites deployed countermeasures that deflected the incoming projectiles. Anti-orbital lasers activated, cutting through enemy ships with pinpoint precision. The Gorathak ships that had once seemed invincible were suddenly losing shields, engines, and communication systems in the blink of an eye. Then came the surprise. A fleet of human warships, silent and deadly, emerged from the shadows of Earth's moons. These ships weren't designed for intimidation or show. They were designed for one thing: efficiency in battle. Each ship was equipped with cutting-edge technology that was invisible to the Gorathak's radar. They moved swiftly and decisively, flanking the enemy fleet with surgical strikes. In less than 48 hours, the Gorathak found themselves in full retreat. They had underestimated humanity, and in doing so, they had made a grave mistake. The human military didn't claim to be unbeatable. They simply didn't need to. Their strategy had always been clear: strength through discipline, technology, and unity. Their people had faced crises before: alien invaders, internal strife, and even existential threats, and had always found a way to overcome. The Gorathak, now broken and humiliated, sent one final transmission. "We thought you were weak," the message said, "but you fought with the strength of 1,000 worlds." Humanity's reply was simple: as always. "We don't exaggerate our military strength, we just get the job done." And with that, the invaders retreated into the dark void of space, defeated not by bluster, but by the quiet power of humanity's resolve. From that day on, the legend of humanity's strength spread across the galaxy, not as a tale of arrogance or boastful claims, but as a reminder that sometimes the quietest warriors are the most dangerous of all. Best HFY stories. Humans don't exaggerate their military strength, continued. After the Gorathak debacle, humanity's reputation grew throughout the galaxy. But there was still one group of beings who couldn't quite grasp the idea of human restraint: the Zarazians. The Zarazians were an ancient race, known for their intelligence and advanced technological prowess. They had once dominated the universe, but now, they were mostly concerned with maintaining their status as the galaxy's intellectual elite. They viewed all other species, particularly humanity, with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. To them, the humans were an upstart race, one with remarkable resilience, but still a species that hadn't earned its place among the stars. They issued a challenge. The Zarazian High Council, in their infinite wisdom, decided to conduct a series of tests to prove that humanity, despite its victories, was still far behind them in terms of intelligence and technology. They invited Earth's brightest minds to compete in what they called the Great Galactic Trial, a multi-stage competition involving strategy, science, and military tactics. The human representatives were hesitant at first, knowing the Zarazian history of manipulation and their obsession with showing superiority. But, as always, humanity's response was calm, even-tempered. We'll participate, but we don't exaggerate our strength. We just do what's necessary. The first test was a problem-solving challenge, where contestants were asked to design a machine that could repair a damaged starship using minimal resources. The Zarazian engineers, with their centuries of experience, were confident they'd have the fastest and most efficient solution. But what the Zarazians didn't account for was humanity's approach to problems. The human team, led by a gifted engineer named Captain Anya Hayes, didn't try to build the most complex machine. Instead, they designed a deceptively simple device that could adapt to various ship systems and provide lasting repairs, an elegant solution that no one else had considered. They used fewer materials, relied on creativity rather than raw technological power, and finished the task in half the time. The Zarazian judges were stunned. The humans hadn't shown off their superior technology or expertise. Instead, they had simply solved the problem in a way no one had expected. The second test was more tactical, a mock battle where teams of different species would command fleets against each other. The goal was to simulate a galactic-scale conflict and see who could devise the most efficient military strategy. As the test began, the Zarazian forces went in with their trademark approach, heavily armed, incredibly precise, and focused on overwhelming the opponent with superior firepower. Their battle strategies were all about dominating the battlefield with their technological advantage. The human team, led by Admiral Marcus Cole, took a different approach. They didn't attempt to outgun the Zarazians, but instead used deception, feigned retreats, and careful use of terrain. Within minutes, they had turned the tide of battle. Instead of focusing on the firepower, the humans used their understanding of psychological warfare to break the Zarazians' strategy. The Zarazians were humiliated. They had failed to see that the humans didn't need to boast or exaggerate their military might. They understood tactics on a deeper level, something the Zarazians hadn't anticipated. Finally, the last test was one of pure intellect, a challenge of pure scientific research. The Zarazians had designed a new energy source that they claimed would revolutionize space travel, and they asked the human team to analyze it. The human team, not relying on elaborate theory or advanced equipment, took a simpler route. They worked quickly, methodically, and carefully, breaking down the data into usable steps. What they discovered was astounding. What the Zarazians believed to be an advanced breakthrough was actually a highly unstable and flawed design. Instead of taking the glory of the victory, the human team did what they always did. They reported the issue and offered solutions that would make the technology work safely. The Zarazians, furious and embarrassed, admitted their defeat, though not graciously. "Your species," the High Council member spat, "are nothing but reckless savages. You never boast, never exaggerate, and yet, you are always 2 steps ahead." Humanity, true to form, simply smiled. "We don't exaggerate our strength," Admiral Cole said with quiet pride. "We just get the job done, every time." And so, once again, humanity had proven itself not through boastful claims, but through unwavering competence, discipline, and a refusal to back down when faced with challenges. They had gained the respect of the galaxy, not through exaggerated words, but through simple actions that spoke volumes. From that moment on, humanity was no longer considered an underdog or a naive species. They were seen as a force to be reckoned with, a species that, while humble, would rise to meet any challenge with quiet strength and ingenuity. In every corner of the galaxy, one thing was clear: humans didn't need to brag about their capabilities. They simply proved them, again and again. And the galaxy, as a whole, learned the most important lesson of all: never underestimate a species that doesn't feel the need to boast about its might, because that species will always be the one that wins when it matters most. Best HFY Stories: Humans Don't Exaggerate Their Military Strength, continued. The victories over the Gorathak and Zarazians had established humanity as a respected force in the galaxy. But despite their quiet success, there were still those who saw humanity as something of a curiosity, a species that somehow managed to punch above its weight without ever bragging about it. The next test came from an unexpected source: the Arcturians, a race known for their ancient traditions and their highly ritualized approach to warfare. The Arcturians had spent centuries refining their combat techniques. blending martial prowess with psychic abilities that made them some of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. But the Arcturians were not interested in proving their strength to anyone. They were deeply fascinated by what they saw as a peculiar human trait: the lack of arrogance. The Arcturian High Command decided to challenge Earth to a contest unlike any the humans had faced before, a duel of honor. The rules were simple: one human champion would face one Arcturian warrior in hand-to-hand combat. No weapons, no technology, just the raw power of the fighters themselves. It was a challenge designed to test both physical and mental endurance, as Arcturian warriors were known for their unshakable will and mastery of psychic warfare. The Arcturian Council sent a message to Earth. One of your champions will meet an Arcturian warrior on the field of honor. We are curious to see if you possess the discipline required to match our warriors. Should you fail, it will be a reminder of your place in the universe. Humanity's response was swift and simple. As always, we don't exaggerate our strength. We simply honor our word. The Earth chose Sergeant First Class Samuel Hayes, a decorated military veteran with unparalleled skill in hand-to-hand combat. Samuel wasn't a boastful man, nor did he feel the need to engage in grand speeches. He understood what the Arcturians wanted: a test of character, not strength. When the time came, Sergeant Hayes was teleported to the Arcturian homeworld, where an arena had been set up for the challenge. The Arcturian warrior, towering and muscular, stood across from him, its eyes glowing with psychic power. The arena was silent as the two warriors sized each other up. The Arcturian warrior, known as Zathir, spoke first, his voice a deep, resonant growl. You will not survive, human. Your kind lacks the mental fortitude to match us. Sergeant Hayes gave a small nod. We'll see about that. The fight began, and the difference in raw power was immediately evident. Zathir was a force of nature, his psychic abilities allowing him to anticipate and counter every move. His blows were swift and precise, and he seemed to have the upper hand. But Hayes had something Zathir didn't expect: human resilience. With each strike, the human soldier adapted. He absorbed the pain, analyzed the moves, and adapted his strategy on the fly. What the Arcturians saw as weakness, human vulnerability, was actually their greatest strength. The fight stretched on for hours, neither fighter giving in. Hayes' endurance, honed over years of grueling military training, allowed him to keep up with the Arcturians' psychic attacks and physical strength. It wasn't just the human body that was tested, it was the human mind. Sergeant Hayes was able to keep his cool under the pressure, something the Arcturian had underestimated. Finally, in an unexpected moment of clarity, Hayes found an opening. He feigned weakness, allowing Zathir to overcommit to a decisive strike. The Arcturian, confident of victory, telegraphed his attack. Hayes shifted, using his opponent's own momentum to twist the Arcturian to the ground. With a well-placed hold, he had Zathir pinned. The arena fell silent. The Arcturian, battered and defeated, struggled to rise but could not break free. Hayes didn't make a move to harm him further, he simply held the position, showing respect for his opponent's strength and honor. Zathir, his pride shattered but his respect for humanity evident, finally spoke. You have bested me, human. I have never encountered a species like yours. Your strength is not in your power, but in your unwavering will. Hayes stood, offering his hand to the Arcturian, pulling him up from the ground. We don't exaggerate our strength. We simply do what is necessary. The Arcturians, known for their unshakable pride, had their eyes opened. They realized that humanity's strength wasn't in raw power or psychic warfare, but in their capacity for resilience, adaptability, and humility. They didn't need to advertise their capabilities or dominate through force. They simply stood firm, ready for whatever came their way. The news of this victory spread like wildfire throughout the galaxy. Humanity had once again proven that they were not to be underestimated, not because they boasted of their power, but because they quietly went about proving it when the time came. The Arcturians, ever the students of history, began to rethink their place in the universe. They realized that there was something to be learned from this humble species, a species that never claimed superiority, but was always ready to rise to any occasion. And so, humanity's legend grew. They were not just a force to be reckoned with, they were a symbol of quiet strength in a galaxy full of noise. While other species boasted and bragged, humanity remained silent, letting their actions speak louder than words ever could. The galaxy began to understand. There was no need to shout about strength when your actions spoke for themselves. And in that silence, humanity's power was clearer than any boast or exaggeration could ever make it. Best HFY stories. Humans don't exaggerate their military strength, continued. Years passed, and humanity continued to quietly gain respect across the galaxy. Their victories, achieved not through grand declarations but through resolve and decisive action, had made them an admired species among the stars. But as with all things, peace brought complacency, and complacency sometimes invited conflict. The next challenge came from a species that had never encountered the humans before, the Traric. The Traric were an ancient, warlike species, feared by all for their brutal tactics and immense strength. They had left their mark across the stars with countless conquests, and their warriors were considered nearly unbeatable. The Traric had heard of humanity's rise, but dismissed it as a passing anomaly. In their eyes, humanity was just another species in a galaxy of countless others, no more special, no more dangerous. The Traric demanded a battle to prove their superiority. They sent an emissary to Earth with a message that would echo across the galaxy. Your species has gained a reputation, but it is a reputation built on luck and cowardice. We, the Traric, are warriors unmatched in strength and skill. We challenge you, Earth, to send your best and prove that you are not a fluke. Should you fail, we will wipe your kind from existence. The message sent shockwaves through the human leaders, but instead of reacting with fear or boasting, humanity's response was swift and measured. We don't exaggerate our strength, we simply face challenges when they arise. Once again, the Earth selected a representative, General Elisa Carter, a military strategist renowned not only for her combat prowess but her exceptional leadership and intellect. Carter, like many humans, had faced far more than her fair share of challenges and had learned that the key to winning battles wasn't about having the largest army or the most advanced technology, it was about knowing how and when to strike. The Traric emissary was puzzled by the calmness of Earth's response. You don't fear us? Your species is bold in its silence, but this is arrogance. You will regret it. The challenge was set, and the location was chosen, a barren moon in a distant star system. The Traric insisted that the battle would be one-on-one combat, but this time, it wouldn't just be physical, it would also test the military minds of both sides. A series of stages were arranged, each designed to test various forms of combat, strategy, survival tactics, and, of course, hand-to-hand combat. The first round began with a tactical simulation, two armies, human and Traric, in a mock battlefield, where the goal was to outmaneuver and outsmart the opponent. The Traric, brimming with confidence in their sheer strength, employed a direct assault strategy, expecting to overwhelm their opponent through sheer force. But General Carter, having studied the Trarica's previous campaigns, anticipated this. She used clever flanking tactics, luring the Traric into a trap where their strength was rendered ineffective. By the end of the round, the Traric had lost over half of their simulated forces, while the humans had lost very few. The Traric commander sneered. Luck, he muttered, nothing more. The next round was a survival challenge, where both sides would be left on a hostile world with only basic supplies. The goal was simple, survive for 72 hours without outside assistance. The Traric, confident in their physical prowess, believed this would be their victory. As expected, the Traric immediately relied on brute force, dominating the environment with their sheer strength. But General Carter and her team took a different approach. They adapted to the environment, making use of the terrain and resources in ways the Traric never considered. By the time the 72-hour mark passed, the humans had not only survived, but had set up a thriving base of operations, with food, shelter, and equipment well beyond what the Traric had managed. The Traric had underestimated the humans, assuming their strength would be enough to overcome anything. But once again, humanity had won not through brute force but through adaptability, planning, and resourcefulness. Finally, the last round was a hand-to-hand combat duel. Just as the Traric had demanded, General Carter faced the Traric champion, a massive, armored warrior with limbs like tree trunks and skin as tough as steel. The Traric champion charged first, moving with surprising speed despite his size. His strikes were powerful, designed to break bones and crush skulls with a single blow. Carter, smaller and more agile, avoided the first few strikes with ease, using her speed and precision to stay just out of range. The Traric champion was relentless, but his brute force left him predictable. Carter baited him into overextending himself, dodging a heavy strike and using the momentum to maneuver behind him. In a moment of stunning clarity, General Carter exploited a small gap in the Trarica's armor, landing a precise blow to a pressure point that sent her opponent crashing to the ground. The Traric champion was defeated not by brute strength, but by skill, intelligence, and an understanding of the fight, an understanding humanity had honed over generations of struggle. As the dust settled, the Traric were silent. Their champion lay defeated, and the entire galaxy watched in awe. The Traric, who had believed their might was unmatched, now understood the true strength of humanity. "You have proven us wrong," the Traric commander admitted, his voice gruff. "We believed you were weak, but we now see that your strength lies not in your physical power, but in your minds, your resilience, and your unwavering determination." General Carter simply nodded, her expression calm. "We don't exaggerate our strength, we just rise to the occasion when it counts." The galaxy once again learned a valuable lesson. Humanity had never needed to boast or brag about their military power. They had shown, time and time again, that true strength came not from words but from action, from the quiet resolve that when challenges arose, humanity would face them head-on, not with arrogance, but with the quiet confidence that comes from knowing they could succeed. In the end, the Traric, like so many others before them, had underestimated humanity, and, like the others, they had learned that there was nothing more dangerous than a species that didn't need to brag about its strength, because that species was always prepared to show its true power when it mattered most.